Morning, everyone.
Good morning,
Good morning.
We're learning Mishnah Shabbos, Parak Zayin, chapter 17, Mishnah Hey, Mishnah 5. I'll dedicate our morning's learning in memory of my mother. Our learning should be an aliyah for the neshama of Shalamis Bas Rav Yaakov Eliezer.
Amen.
Amen.
Okay, Mishnah Hey, Kol HaKelim, Hanitolim B'Shabbos. Any vessel that you can move on Shabbos, Shivreyen Nitolin. Their broken pieces can be moved also. That means if you had a vessel and it broke, and it's not usable in its original form, it does not become muksa just because it broke. As long as Mishnah says, as long as they can do some kind of work, as long as there's some usage you can get out of it, it's not going to become muksa. If something breaks and there's nothing you can do with it anymore, it's now muksa. You can't move it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is a halacha that if glass breaks and there's kids around, that's already a question of danger. So halacha says you can move that, you can sweep up the broken pieces. But if, let's say, some pieces of glass or whatever it is break and they're not in anybody's way and there's no use for it and they have no use anymore, they're muktzah. But in this case, the Mishna is saying, although they have broken and cannot be used in their original form, but they can be used in some way, and therefore they still retain their status as a kli, as a utensil, they're not muktzah. For example, shivrei areva, the broken piece of a mixing bowl, big mixing bowl that you make dough in. It broke. You can't use it for that anymore. What do you want to do with the broken pieces of the mixing bowl? You use them to cover one second. Use them to make sure I get the word right, to cover the opening of a barrel. They had these big pieces of the mixing bowl. I'm assuming it was made out of pottery, out of some kind of pottery. And now you need something to cover the top of your barrel. So you use that. And apparently that was, that's a usage, and that would have been considered a normal usage of this broken piece. Okay, so you're going to use the broken pieces of the mixing bowl to cover a barrel. Shivrei zechuchis, broken glass. In order to cover a jar. We would never use broken glass nowadays, but in those days, whatever way the glass was, if you had this glass container and it broke, the broken pieces would be used to cover a jar. So these are all examples of the original use. It doesn't happen anymore. It can't hold anything anymore. It can't hold anything. Nonetheless, because of the fact that it can use it as a covering, which was something that people did, therefore it still retains the status of a kli, of a utensil, and it's not muktzah. Mishnah continues. Rabbi Yehuda says, Rabbi Yehuda says it's not enough for them just to do any kind of, for them to have any kind of use. They have to retain something of their original use. For example, shivrei areva latzoik lasoichan mikvah. The broken pieces of the mixing bowl to pour into them mikvah, a porridge. So it's not big enough, wide enough to be able to mix dough in it, but beforehand it held some kind of a thick substance, and now it still has to be able to hold some kind of a thick substance. So it's not a mixing bowl anymore, but it can be used to hold a mikvah. That means a porridge, something thick. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it's retaining a similarity to its original use. Shivrei are, okay, we did that. V'shal zechuchis, and if we're talking about a glass container that broke, latzuk l'seichan shemen, enough to pour into it oil. It used to be a larger container. It used to be able to hold different kinds of liquids. Just 1 second. Yeah, originally it was able to hold certain types of liquid. Now that it's broken, it can hold oil, which is, I guess, maybe a little bit thicker than the other liquid, and therefore it can hold it in there. Whatever reason the difference is before what it could have held, and now it's only good for enough for oil, whatever the explanation to that is. At the end of the day, the point according to Rabbi Yehuda is that when it breaks, and you want to say it still retains its status, and when I say its status as a vessel, that's not muktzah, it has to retain something of its original usage. But if now it comes out that because it broke, it cannot be used at all for its original usage, and it's going to be used for something totally different, like in the case of, let's say, you want to say that it broke to the point that it can't hold anything anymore. The broken mixing bowl cannot hold even porridge. But we want to use it to cover a barrel, like the first Tana says. That according to Rabbi Yehuda is not enough. According to Rabbi Yehuda, if it cannot be used anymore for its original purpose, it's like a brand new utensil. And there is a form of muksa called noilad. Noilad means it was created today. Something that if you had a utensil that didn't exist, and somehow or another came into existence on Shabbos, it's a muksa because it's called noilad, was born. Its usage wasn't prepared from before Shabbos. And therefore, that whatever could be called noilad is called muksa. So according to according to Rabbi Yehuda, if now it cannot be used at all for its original form, it's no different than a new vessel, and as a new vessel, it's muksa. According to the Tanna Kama, if it was usable before and it's still usable, even if it's not its original form, it retains its old status of utensil. It's not considered something new, and therefore it is not muktzah. According to the Tanna Kama, it literally has to be something that didn't exist. Something didn't exist and came into existence on Shabbos. That is considered noilad and muktzah because of that. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Roy.